And we're live.
Hell yeah. How's it going, guys? Cheers.
See if anybody's looking yet.
So, Jinx, some of your read one of your poems to us.
Okay, I have to make that go down. There we go. Okay.
Let's make a good start to it instead of just.
You want me to read my poems?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Hold on. I want to do screen share while I do this then.
Okay.
But I'm gonna look something up here. It is hold on. Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay.
Okay. You still see me?
I see your avatar.
I was looking something up. You see me now? Okay.
So chat, share screen,
I'm trying to figure it out myself.
share. All right, there we go. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the thing I was looking up earlier.
So, like, this is what I think is interesting. I'm gonna talk about this a little bit, to kind of put this in perspective, because I already know that when people read this, they're gonna read it like they took us by jingo. That's how we're used to hearing it, I think, is, from European folks. They say, like by jingo.
I did not know that when I read that. I was kind of like, what do you meant by that?
Well, typically that's how they hear it, is just kind of an expression or phrase like by jingo. We got it by jingo. So it goes, they took us by jingo. We had not seen this before. They came and they taught us about hatred and war. We had never known to be misogynistic nor to be xenophobic. They came and they came by force. They had us all. They took us by jingo. Across the world, cultures would fight and enslave each other. It was about resources, not schism or race. We knew hatred of cultures, but not hatred of one another based on a skin color. Then they came in with a dogma in hand, something that would reign for millennia under the guise of a moral compass. We had all been fooled. Yes, they had us. They had you too. They came and they conquered. They took us by jingo. Since the dawn of man, men and women were egalitarian. Men and women were both violent and cruel, vindictive, strange, unkind, brutal, barbaric, save for the ones that we knew. Women could tear a man's heart and burn a village to the ground, tearing perpetrators apart with savage passion for her people stored in her heart. There was no gender to hold the crown. Not until they came and they tore it all down. They came in with their dogma and they took us. They took us all by jingo. No culture across this land understood hatred of sex between two women or two men. It was nothing. It was normal and natural and a part of this world. Nothing yet existed to make us think this was bizarre or even hinted it was not a part of who we and all the creatures are. We are not celestial beings above and beyond. We are human, and just like animals, we like to fuck. They had us all. They convinced us that they had the morality we needed. and it was morality they stole. They did it with force and propaganda. They did it by jingo.
It kind of sounds like to me a bit of the climate today, how they trick and fool the people that who are gullible to fight these wars for no apparent reason off of a witch or off of propaganda. Um, it
Well,
just sounds like
that's interesting that you say that, but there's a twist to this. Let me finish this. Okay. They came with their books and their hidden agendas, their spells and their prayers, propaganda, brainwashing, and symbols. They taught us that women were second-class citizens. They taught us that culture as well as race made us different, and this segregation need be defended. They told us to kill those with a different opinion, wrapped in the guise of three Abrahamic religions. They took us by jingo. Do you get it? Centuries, maybe millennia later, they sit back and laugh as many take a blame for their sick philosophy and hidden agendas. In the age of enlightenment, secularists tried to undo what was done. Now it is secularists that stand with curiosity on their face looking at a loaded gun. These people are not the pariahs they've told you they have become. Now that they are secularists, or now that the secularists are in the hot seat, I think they have won. They took us all. They did it again. They conquered us by jingo. Now, really, it's not by jingo. It's really said they took us by jingo.
basically
They took
they
us all
fooled
by
us.
jingo. By jingo. Oh, here, let me show you what this means. The expression by jingo is apparently a minced oath that appeared rarely in print, which but which may be traced as far back as to at least the 17th century, and a transparent euphemism for by Jesus.
Oh, sorry, my phone's messing up. Somebody tried calling me earlier, and I'm like, and it was something stupid. Dang it!
Ah,
You still see me, right?
well, I see my screen. Yeah, you're showing up.
Okay, you see me right now. I'll wave my hands.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so the OED attests the first appearance in 1694 in an English edition of the works of, I don't even know how to say that, as a translation for the French Pardee, something like that, by God. So by jingo is kind of saying that they took it by the grace of God, but there's other things too that say that it was about. There we go. That it was about. Um, like they would go to war and they wouldn't necessarily use military action, but they would use religion to take over.
Right.
So like many of the colonizers, the early colonizers used this tactic. Or like the French when they went down to South Africa, they basically they were like, well, you don't have, like a representation of what your country is, like a flag or a religion, so we'll give you that and kind of take over.
Right. I can see that by crusading and taking over and indoctrination.
We took them by jingo.
All right. Okay, I get it. So you're considering the social justice warriors are pretty much as the new idea of the the conquerors, or try to
Religion.
Yes, I can see that. And then it seems kind of to me any kind of form of criticism, especially recently. What's that one? I sent it to you earlier, the article about this guy who is an actor for the TV show Empire. I think it's Jesse Smalls, and I've been hearing about this guy for a while. Yeah, Jesse Smalls. You heard about this guy?
No, I haven't heard about him.
He supposedly got my. You see me? You still see me?
Yeah, your camera's doing something funky.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering why it's doing that.
You know, it's interesting that it's doing that because I can do green screen.
And I wasn't asking for green screen. That's the funny thing is.
Well, I'm sure I could make a screen capture that. Now it's not doing it. Now it's fine. It's not doing it.
But this actor from Empire, he in Chicago late at night, about 2:00 in the morning, he was walking down to Subway to get a sub. And supposedly he got attacked by two men with mega hats in Chicago. I mean, to me, that doesn't sound very believable. The cops did an investigation. They threw supposedly bleach on him. They put a noose around his neck. He ends up going back to his hotel. He said at the time being, he was talking to his manager on the phone. You found out later on it was a hoax. And he was getting mad and upset by people not believing him. I mean, come on, think about it. Wearing a mega hat in Chicago, you will be killed in Chicago. I don't think that would actually happen. That's why I'm kind of doubting the story in the beginning.
So he was beaten by two people wearing MAGA hats?
Supposedly, yeah. And the story changed to say it was two guys in ski masks. Claiming that. And then they found out later on that he's not bringing out his information, his cell phone, the evidence that he has. I mean, I understand that, you know, he might smoke some pot and he doesn't want to release that information out that he does. That's completely understandable. I don't trust cops on that either, but, you know, I mean, if you have been assaulted, supposedly, and if this is actually a hate crime, you would do anything the best you can to try to catch the guy who attacked you. And he is, I think,
this was released 7 hours ago. He confirmed the two Washington Post, he confirmed to the Washington Post that the two men who have not been charged are of Nigerian descent, and that at least one has worked on Empire. He added that police cannot yet confirm whether the men knew. I don't know what this is. SMOLLETT. That's his last name. I don't know how you say that.
I don't know, but it's probably he's from Nigeria, and I think he probably hired them to do that to him. And that was the case. My question is, if you were beaten up, and
it says right here that he staged his own attack in the city last month.
Yeah, he did, and there's people claiming this is a fake hate crime, and he was claiming how people dare disagree with me. This actually happened to me, and I'm like, well, no, it didn't, because he faked it. Because where he lived at, there's security cameras everywhere. If he actually got attacked.
It says Chicago police have said they are investigating the alleged assault against him, who is black and openly gay, as a possible hate crime. And then he told the police he was attacked about 2 a.m. on January 29th by two people who yelled racial and homophobic slurs, tied a rope around his neck, and poured a chemical substance, which he believed was bleach, on him. According to this guy, at least one assailant told him this is MAGA country during the attack.
I mean, Chicago, I'm surprised. That's the thing is, if he said it happened in Alabama or Georgia, then I can somewhat believe him. But if it happened in Chicago, it's kind of hard for me to believe that. And there's no video evidence of it. That's the worst part. That's the funny part about it is the story between mega hats or guys with ski masks. It's like one or the other. And he's not giving his cell phone over. He said at the time being he was talking to his manager when he got attacked. And
there's surveillance footage
of two people walking.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you can see.
Yeah. So my question is this a fake racial attack that some people would say? What's your opinion?
I don't know. This person on Twitter has something interesting to say. I don't really even know what he's talking about. He says, all I know is Rob Elgas of ABC7 needs to be out of a job. There's irresponsible journalism, and then there's what he and ABC7 Chicago did tonight, emboldening the haters. I have written on Empire from day one, and no one ever discussed writing Empire, I guess this is his nickname, Empire, off. Ever knock it off.
Okay. Well, I mean, because you got news organizations, you got his neighbors even question, is it actually a real thing? Is it actually a real hate crime? If they catch the guy, it's good. I mean, that's horrible. That's disgusting what happened to him. But if it's really true, I highly doubt that, especially in Chicago. You know, it's not considered a red state. Even then.
That doesn't mean that it's not possible.
But also, there's too many stuff questioning in the first place that he walked home with the. Oh, great, fantastic! Somebody's texting me again. He walked home with the noose around his neck, and he takes forever to call the cops. And I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Well, we have to wait and see on this one. I mean, typically speaking, the cops usually vote red, do they not?
Oh, fair enough.
Is that a fair statement? So I would think that if the police were to come forward and corroborate what he is saying, I think it's pretty legitimate.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it is or is not.
I'm not going to sit here and say that the police are perfect. They certainly do get it wrong, but I think they try their best to get it right.
Yeah, but you know, it just seems very questionable at most that there's a lot of stuff not adding up to each other. Also, not only that, I mean, why would he had his noose still hanging around his neck? The picture that he had of him getting beaten up was just a little scar on his face. I think if you got in a fight with two guys, you would think you would have a few black guys, a bloody nose, or some broken bones, you know, at least.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not young. He's well known. I mean, they may not have done that deliberately. I don't know. We're dealing with a lot of tension in society. And, you know, you were talking about my poem being like SJW being the new religion. Really what I'm saying is that the perpetrators of these problems in the first place has been and continues to be religion.
Yeah. I think part of it is religion. Mostly, I think it's part of it is politics and this mass hysteria.
Well, I mean, there was a comment in that poem that said the three Abrahamic religions, which include Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So while Christians and Jewish people have reconciled their difference in belief with the Old Testament views of particular things. And whilst, you know, there are other Christians that have absolutely not done this, and they try to read the scripture literally, and they're not so, which is odd, because to be Christian literally translates to you are a follower of Christ, you are a follower of Christ's philosophy, which his message was to turn the other cheek. If somebody were to slap you in the face or in the cheek, show them the other one, you know, judge not lest ye be judged kind of thing. But, you know, you still have very, very extremist fundamental sects of Christianity.
Yeah, small amount like Westboro Baptist Church, and you got small groups like that who are very radical to the point that they think it's justified to kill abortion doctors. You know, even people who are pro life be like, no, that's pushing it too far. You know.
Yeah. So you have that, and then you have the world of Islam, which the moderate Muslim, you know, I think we would like the majority to be moderate Muslim. I don't know what the percentage of moderate versus extremist are.
There's I think it was like they had a study. It was about 3 out of 10. 3 of them did justify, you know,
global jihad
stuff. And I'm like, and that's in America. Can imagine what's going on in France and England and other countries that they have, they actually are implicating these kind of doctrines in their government, which is horrible.
And they're following the literal scripture of the hadiths.
Yeah, exactly. And also, this other thing of which talking about fanaticalism, a small town governor over, I think, West Virginia. I mean, even
hold on a second. We weren't finished with the other one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, looking at all this information that I've seen before me, it's like I have no reason to doubt this proclamation. I mean, yes, actually, the left has been committing a lot more violent acts than anything on the right.
Yeah,
fascistic, even the most extreme. You know, like. Even though, like, Richard Spencer is technically on the authoritarian left towards the center, he's almost right-leaning, but not really, because of the socialism that's involved in fascism. Fascism is actually kind of on the left, I think, and like a lot of people don't associate it with that. They see it as on the right side, like the authoritarian right, but that's not the case. And then we have, you know, like the groups like KKK, they're democratic, but we wouldn't consider their philosophy to be very democratic.
No, not really. I mean, but also back in the 1940s, they were actually founded by the Democrat unions and small town Democrats in the early 20s was founded by the KKK. And oddly enough, the Italian mobsters up north were founded by the Democrats as well, by the workers' union. So that whole, the Democratic Party been involved with not only with crime with the KKK, the hate group, but even in the 1940s they were involved with the mob and the workers' unions. So I mean, you talk about government corruption.
But I'm just what I'm trying to get at is that while the left has been a major push, and when I say left, I'm talking about groups like Antifa and like SJW type protests where they're
BLM.
Extremely over the top and inappropriate for what's going on. Not saying that they don't have the right to protest or to disagree, but they're doing it to a point where they're getting people fired. They're doing it to a point where they're getting speakers shut down. They're damaging property. And so, like, you have these mass mobs doing that kind of thing. Now, there's not been a lot of stuff coming from the right spectrum or the right.
Not very much. No, not very much.
And even if we were to include, like, the KKK and neo-Nazis and white nationalists in the right sphere, even if they are or not, is irrelevant. But if we consider that a right-leaning type thing, type of push, even then, there's less of it than attacks coming from the left.
Yeah, exactly. There's more violent attacks between people who are from the far left who are attacking, like Antifa, Black Lives Matter. And I showed you that article one time of the skinheads protesting out in, I think, in Eastern Kentucky. They were protesting. They were having a neo-Nazi rally. No Antifa showed up, but every time there is a conservative or libertarian, rally, or Mike Pence shows up to Eastern Kentucky, Antifa's always there. They're always protesting against conservatives instead of the actual white nationalists, and that shows me the fact is they're not trying to fight Nazis. They're just trying to fight conservatives, liberals, and libertarians, and they're just trying to fight anybody who disagrees with their opinion.
Right.
They don't care. So
I don't think it's very surprising, though, that we do see a legitimate attack from the right that doesn't have to do with the extremists, the faces that we're so familiar with, like the KKK, the Confederates and shit like that. I mean,
some people could justify the Confederate flag as to the point that it's Southern history or states' rights, and there's plenty of people who don't have a racist bone in their body.
Well, right. But I mean, like that kid who shot up like the church. He had like Confederate flags and got into neo-Nazism.
Yeah.
So that's the propaganda that we see.
Yeah.
And that we associate with those types of crimes. But I mean, it's not shocking to think that somebody would get so sick and fed up with identity politics.
They would do something crazy like that.
That they would go out on a limb and do that. That's one of the problems that I've been speaking out against, this whole political correctness and censorship. It really is what it is. They hate it when you call it that. I don't know why, but if you call it censorship, they hate it.
It is straight censorship. I mean, we have the right to speak what we want to, say what we want to. It's America.
Right, but the problem is that those people, they become isolated into an echo chamber where they have nobody perpetuating the same thoughts other than people that agree with them, and then they become radicalized.
Yeah.
And they're not met with an opposing opinion.
That is, not like less hostile or something like that. And I could see the point that people become more radicalized when they're isolated from society. I mean, think about it. A lot of these school shooters, a lot of these people who commit these violent acts have been very antisocial, very secluded from everybody else, who has mental disorders, and not only that, was raised without a father, which is kind of a funny thing about it is. Oh, and by the way, talking about craziness, I showed you that picture of the that Virginia governor. That he's not a Virginia governor, but he works in like a small town in Virginia.
Yeah.
And that's even Mike Pence would be like, "Oh, fuck that."
Yeah, I saw the picture of him that you sent me, and
like every picture I looked up is like him cross-eyed. It's funny. It's like, oh god, it's like a stereotypical, just inbred hick. It's funny.
Yeah, he looks gross.
Oh god, I saw a picture of him and like I looked up on Google his name, and I looked through and I'm like, every picture that he's cross-eyed or looking up. It's weird.
But why would anybody come to the conclusion that the LGBTQ community is the modern day version of the Ku Klux?
Why you would say that? I'm like, what?
How many paint chips did this guy eat?
8. And why you would vote for this guy, I think it's crazy. Also, talk about homophobia. That female congresswoman who said anti-Semitic slurs.
Just, I mean, look, just how many paint chips? Like how often did he eat paint chips?
Oh my God. And that's the funny thing is this is the extremist on the right. There's not very much.
The LGBTQ community is the modern day version of the Ku Klux Klan. They really are, if you think about it.
And he said he wanted to drown his own kids if they come out as gay. And I'm like, he said that as a joke, but still, that's a little too disturbing. That's a little too extreme there as a joke. I started laughing at that, and I'm like, oh God. And then also we talk about this democratical rot by I'm trying to read it. Anti-Semitic slurs. That me or you?
That that was me.
Yeah. Also, yeah, a democratical woman who is in Congress right now in the White House who said anti-Semitic slurs, anti-Semitic stuff. And not only that, she apologized for it and then goes back saying it again, saying anti-Semitic slurs. Well, I forgot what's her name. I can't pronounce her name real good. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
I thought a lot of them yelled anti-Semitic slurs. Like basically anybody that was a part of the Women's March movement has said something anti-Semitic.
That's fucked up. And yet they claim they claim the right. People like me and you who are critical thinkers, we're claimed as bigots to them. Isn't that ironic?
I don't know that people claim me to be on the right though. And nobody's ever called me a bigot. They just think that my thinking is, well, bizarre.
I say it's interesting. There's people call me bigots. There's people call me all these kind of things, and to me, I mean, like that's not much of an argument at all. When people argue with me,
I love it when right wingers call me a rational liberal or a rational leftist. That's what they call me. They call me a rational leftist.
Well, you are very rational. You're not insane. You're not crazy. You're not some of these people who think there's 50 different genders and let's hate Israel because it's Israel. You know, that's a bit insane. And then also we have this right here. The Kent State gun girl is in the news today, recently, over somebody. You've seen the article I sent you, right? About the alligator farm.
I don't know if you sent me an article about
it. I think a screenshot of it.
You told me about it.
Yeah, about one of the people who work at the went on Twitter, said that he was half tempted to push her over into the alligator pit. And he claimed it was a joke, but he said I had to hold back from pushing this Kent State gun girl over the rail into a bunch of alligators. I was half tempted not to do it, hold himself back. And then when he got fired, then he said, "Oh, I was just joking about it." And I'm like, ugh. Hey, I want to go on Twitter, Jinx, and I'm going to say if I ever see David Hogg, I'm going to run him over with the forklift and kill him. And then when I get fired, I would be like, it was a joke the whole time.
Yeah, I don't think that'll go over too well.
Exactly. That wouldn't exactly work out. And he wondered why he got fired. And people were flipping their lids off because the Kent State gun girl took her graduation picture with a AR-15, and there were protests against her over that. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Is this a graduation picture? You can imagine if I took a picture of my graduation picture of me and my bong going, a big old huge bong right in front of the school, and then people would be protesting. I'm like, oh, that's against the law. We're a protest against that. They wouldn't protest against it at all because it's like a double standard.
Yeah, you talked to me about that alligator thing, like the guy that works with alligators at the zoo. And I really think that companies need to stay away of what people do on social media. And I think advertisers need to stop thinking that just because somebody has a brand on their social media, that brand automatically takes the stance of the opinions that that person, that particular individual represents, because nobody thinks that. Nobody thinks that.
That's true. I agree with that because not everybody's going to. Not everybody who works for a company doesn't represent that company, especially where I work at. And I told you I used to work for that magazine, Darkest Goth. And I never posted up on my Facebook that I worked at that magazine as a writer. And around the Lexington area, and people got the hint that I worked there because they would have pictures of me at Goth Night over there, and people would ask me questions on comments. How's that article you doing when you're writing it? I'm like, oh, I'm doing all right. And then the person who was running the magazine got mad at me because my political viewpoints. I said, okay, I cut down the political postings. Okay, fair enough. And then he goes back and he does it himself. And I'm like, what the fuck? You got to be kidding me. He puts his leftist garbage all over his Facebook. And he puts down on his Facebook that he's the head editor of Darkest Goth magazine. I don't have that on my Facebook that I work for Darkest Goth magazine. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, what the fuck? It's like a double standard there. Puts down on his Facebook.
Okay.
What happened?
I was just making sure that the mic doesn't pick up what's coming out of the speakers, and somehow it knows not to do it. I think that's weird.
That's good. It's working real good for you. And then also what do you think about the new Green Deal?
I have seen that. I have seen a big report written about that. I have sent that to you. I sent it to C.R. Williams as well, I believe. And that is ridiculous. I mean, the amount of cost that would take, like there's even people in the Democratic Party that are like, this doesn't make any sense. This is not feasible.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing is you're a person who would argue against people who don't believe in global warming or climate change.
Well, yeah, but we're not talking about the debate of global warming and climate change. We're talking about switching everything over to green energy. And it's like, if it was more efficient to do that, we would have done it by now, but it's not more efficient. It's more expensive.
Yeah, it wouldn't exactly work. And then they added extra stuff. And this is the one thing I don't get recently with the bills. Every time there's a bill, they're adding different things to it that has no involvement with the bill at all. But they're adding, like, also you work for free. It's like not work for free, but you get money for nothing, and you get a allowance by the government. They add that onto it, which is quite interesting, you know.
I don't think that that's going to pass. I don't think that'll be very popular.
No, it won't, because, I mean, the thing is, you know, there's some people who are willing to sit on their ass and do nothing, take less money than work in a restaurant work, you know, fast food work. Well, and then, you know, there's some people.
I guarantee you anybody that it's in support of that probably has no idea how that will impact them financially.
Exactly. It won't
They have
it would have less people in the food industry at all. It would be nobody working. It would, you know, you can't order a pizza then.
Well, I mean, taxes would be absolutely insane to pay for all the exports that we use with green energy. I mean, can you imagine what would happen to, like, flying? That's
Exactly.
I think that's something that even people like her take for granted. It's like we
Or
don't really have a green energy way of making jet fuel.
exactly. Well, not only that, I meant full like all these trucks that import and export stuff to grocery stores, to shopping malls, to WalMarts, to different chains of government, chains of companies that basically
Well,
needs to have their products.
in the town that you live in, do you have the little charging stations for those
No,
battery? You don't have them? I have them. And I'll tell you, that's only about like maybe 15 to 30 minutes of drive time. And then you got
yeah,
to recharge it.
that's crazy.
Yeah. So if I had one of those, that it doesn't depend on fuel at all. But if I had one of those, I would have to charge it before I left for work. And then I'd have to charge it before I left work and possibly even charge it again.
Yeah, you would have to stop in the middle and charge it again just to even get it going because you probably have to drive a long distance away from your place.
Yeah,
That
so about 15, 30 minutes of drive time is about all you get. And so
and
that can become really, really expensive really, really quick. And
nobody
those
has a good.
batteries are rechargeable, but they don't last forever.
I know, and nobody's going to sacrifice their car or their motorcycle or their four wheel truck for green energy cars that don't even work hardly at all. It's insane. It makes me
Well,
think that she's not thinking realistically.
well, see, Thunderfoot has done some excellent videos because he's in support. He talks about global warming and climate change, but he's realistic in the science, and he does a lot of like he had a video saying that solar panels, you don't get like a return on investment on them for like, what was it, 20 years, maybe 15 years, something like 10 years maybe. I don't remember exactly, but it takes a while to get a return on investment with solar panels even, and if you don't use them correctly, you won't even get that.
Yeah, that's insane. But also, I was reading something about green energy that Texas is known for their coal and oil industry as well, but also they actually have more green energy compared to other countries, compared to other states. Sorry.
That's true, but the thing is that as far as technology goes on green energy, I don't we may have reached our capacity at how green it can get. We don't know. Um, the apex uh, energy supply that we have is petrol. Nothing we know of beats it other than nuclear. And that's not something you want to make a vehicle. You don't want to power. You don't want a nuclear powered vehicle.
Yeah, that would end up pretty badly. You probably end up having cancer at the next 5 stops that you have to get to your work. Your boss be wondering why you're glowing.
Well, that wouldn't happen, but there's some cancer risk. There's yeah, I think predominantly just cancer. But if we were talking about fusion, then there's definitely like there's the waste. What do you do with the waste? Because it wouldn't have no exhaust. Its exhaust would be toxic waste, would be nuclear waste that you'd have to find a way to get rid of, and that just wouldn't be effective at all. So
It wouldn't work
really,
out because they
really,
have to dig. They have to dig like several miles down to the like down underneath the ground, this to put down like toxic waste just to keep it at, and that just be too much room just to get rid of it.
well, I'm just saying that with the technology given, like even green technology, we don't have the green technology to go completely green. We don't have it.
We don't have the technology that we need more. We need more advancement of technology to even go forward to it.
Yes, we need to progress on the technology that we have before we can completely rely on it.
It's going to be quite some time because it will take. I would say more investment. Instead of just concentrating on a new Green Deal, how about they have my idea for a good Green Deal is less government. You know, I would say, okay, I will give a tax incentive to these green energy companies who want to have green energy. Just give them a tax cut and leave everything alone, and there you go. And end of the story. Don't fuck with anybody else. Don't regulate oil or coal or any other energy. Just don't fuck with it and just leave everything alone. That's the only thing I gotta say. If you want green energy to survive, give them a tax cut or a tax incentive, saying if you do better by your product and you make more money at this, you'll get a tax cut.
No regulation at all. That sounds kind of capish of you.
Yeah, I want them to make money without taxing them a crap ton of money, even coal and oil. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think you do need some regulation, and the reason for that is because coal industries can't be spewing their toxic waste into local water supplies and giving everyone cancer.
I agree with that. I think that's kind of horrible. Yeah, I think we should have some regulations, but not so many regulations that we have the balls of the company to the point that they can't do anything to innovate.
Nor should the company have the pillars of democracy by the balls to cave into their will.
I agree with you on that, yeah. But what we have now is with green energy is just give them a tax cut, leave everything alone. That's it. That's it. Because Cortez, she's mentally insane. She's trying to replace anything and everything with green energy, and it won't work out. It won't work. And she's actually adding different things into the bill that has nothing to do about green energy. I don't get that.
It's not cost effective, and it's not technologically viable.
And also, they are actually talking about, and this thing is the new bill coming out with the whole wall. It's only 55 miles of wall. And Trump was asking for 200 miles of wall to cover it. And they're adding extra things with ICE. They say ICE can't hold on too many people who come over here illegally. That's ridiculous. So you're talking about more catch and release of people catching people and releasing them because they don't have enough room, and they're limiting the room that they basically can come in. So this is a bullshit excuse for a wall, and it's not a good compromise at all. I know you don't agree with the wall, but also the added extra incentive, the extra stuff to it, you would probably disagree with it as well, like I would.
Well, I think the wall is a silly idea. I mean, every wall that's been built before in the same name for the same kind of point and purpose has either not worked or been completely torn down. Maybe in like couple thousand years from now, if humanity still exists and the wall is still there, it might become like a historical monument of, like the times that we live in. And the thing is the people of the future will probably will look on us with more judgmental eyes than we do ourselves. Like they're probably going to be judging both sides equally.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the whole wall thing, but at the same time,
before we go on that, I did want to say, as far as the green energy thing, and I've brought this up before, is that it should be introduced into the market. And the problem before is that oil industries were using lobbyists to try and shut them down. And I think the government had to step in and say, no, you can't do that because you're essentially making a monopoly.
Yeah, exactly. And in the system.
So let them introduce it into the free market. And at first, the upper class is going to be the only ones that have them. But as the technology improves and gets better, then those will become antiquated. They'll go down to the middle class and then the lower class. And then before you know it, everybody will be driving green. I mean, because it'll be more prevalent and more cost effective. And
basically kind of like to the point of like smart TVs, smartphones.
That is the comparison that I've made is you know, tube television to the flat screen. I mean, now I can't even walk. I don't even know where you would buy a tube television. Do you?
Nowhere. Besides like a yard sale.
Maybe,
Like
maybe
yeah,
in an antique store, a
yeah.
fucking antique store. You find one from like the 1950s or something.
Not like a hipster would buy one. He wants to feel like he's still stuck in the 90s or 60s.
I don't want a tube TV. They're heavy as fuck. They
No, I don't
emit,
want
they
to either.
emit small amounts of radiation. I don't know if you know that, but they emit small amounts of radiation.
That didn't surprise me.
So you know that just happened gradually, natural, like just you know the free market took care of that
Yeah.
all on its own. And you know there were regulations on manufacturing companies for both flat screen and tube televisions, but that's to protect the people.
Yeah. So I agree with some regulations to protect the people, but when it's just holding back from companies, and then there's lobbyists who basically look the other way, and there's people who have enough money who just gets away with anything. So
Yeah,
adding more regulations doesn't fix the problem. It makes the rich companies, uh, scam other people by just buying out their their buying out the competition.
I think it's safe to say that you need a healthy balance. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't want crony capitalism because we see where that gets us. You get big pharma,
exactly.
but you don't want the government to be so powerful that it controls the commerce in the country.
Well, then if and that's the thing is people don't realize that socialism and communism is control of the market companies and basically anything that is a big company or a small company, they control it. So basically, the stuff that you basically own, you don't own it. It's the states own the country owns it. The government owns it. They don't realize that.
That's what happened in Venezuela. General Mills pulled out of Venezuela because the government tried to take control of their factories.
Exactly. And it doesn't work that way.
No. Now, back to the wall. That's one reason I think the wall is a waste of time is because walls never work. It only creates the illusion of a problem that needn't even be addressed. You know, like if there wasn't a problem before, there certainly is now because we're building a fucking wall.
Right. Well, there's always been a problem with illegal immigration. There's always been a problem with drug cartels, sex trafficking, violence.
Oh, yes, and we made it abundantly clear we built a wall.
Yeah. And even with the wall, without the wall, some people don't really agree with the wall. They wanted more ICE agents. They wanted more security. They wanted more.
Well, yeah, it's fine. You know, we do need to get the illegal immigration thing under control. Absolutely, the drug cartels are making a huge, like, they've kicked the left, the Democrats, in the balls multiple times with their whole like money laundering through HSBC Bank. And
Exactly.
so, I mean, yeah, this is something I think both sides, and that's what I find interesting, is it seems like a lot of people on the right think that just because people on the left don't like the wall, they automatically want completely open borders. When I don't think really anyone is saying that. I think absolutely yes, we all agree that you know the illegal immigration thing is kind of getting out of hand. We need to do something about it, and that's fine, but building a wall is insanely expensive. All the money that he's spending on that wall could be spent towards helping the actual U.S. citizens.
It could be. Well, also I can always say it could be both. I seen this meme online that this guy holds a sign and said, "We this the only wall that needs to be built is like a separation between church and state." And I thought I always put down in the comments, why not both? You know, I do agree with the wall. Simple fact of it is that when desperate times needs from desperate measures, and it works to the point that you look at prisons, you look at prisons that they have walls.
Do
And,
you do you know how most people get here as illegal immigrants? The majority of them?
Through airplane.
Yes. They're not crossing the desert. Crossing the desert is actually a very dangerous thing, and people who have tried that have probably died.
But the thing is, the people who go through here by airplane, they're not the usual violent criminals. You know why? Because they have to pass a background check to get a visa,
and then their visa expires. That's the majority of your illegal immigrants. They're people.
But that's the ones that I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about those because those are the ones who are less likely to cause cross crime. The ones who come over here by through desert, those are the people who have something to hide. That's why. That's the issue. You know, if they come over here illegally by airplane, you know, it's better them doing that comparison to somebody jumping over across by desert, coming through here illegally, jumping over the border, because they could be a rapist, they could be a murderer, they could be a serial killer. They couldn't go through airport security if they don't have a visa, and you have to pass a background check.
Well, and the other thing of it is we also have coastlines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are. We do have a coast. We do have a National Guard that actually, or a coastal guard that basically keeps an eye on, you know, on the seas. So that if you
we don't have one on every single coast.
Not every single coast.
No.
But the thing is with the wall is, okay, yes, people can go through it, people can dig through it, people can go over it some way or another, but it's still an obstacle. It will still give ICE members enough time to catch them before they go over the other side.
And that is a lot of money spent just so you can slow them down a little bit.
So about 20 to 30 minutes, you know, think about it. And then we'll still be there on time to catch him. But it would, and they would give the incentive.
All that money that he's spending on the wall could be like a stimulus check or something.
Fair enough. But, and this is the thing is, it actually, with all that money spent on the wall, it would actually lower down the prices because our government is paying so much money for these illegal immigrants. If we catch them before they even come over here, we wouldn't have to pay for their welfare, their health care, and everything else with it, or their schooling. We wouldn't have to pay for it.
We're not paying for their welfare.
Sometimes we do, and that's the sad part.
No, we're not paying for their welfare.
Certain states do.
Well,
and green card.
Most states are not going, because you cannot get welfare unless you're a legal citizen.
Yeah.
You have to be. I mean, the amount of things that you have to qualify for to go on SSI, SSDI is crazy. Last time I was on it when I was in my 20s, so that was many years ago. But they even cell phones were a thing. Everybody was using cell phones. I didn't have a landline, but they told me I had to have one. I had to have a landline. That was like a stipulation that they had, that you had to have a landline.
Oh, it's not that way anymore. Yeah, man, you know, you don't have to have a landline.
The maximum amount of money that they can give you is very meager at best. I mean, like, it's.
But even with that, I mean, they're still collecting it. Also, they're still working side jobs, you know, on construction sites, basically taking jobs away from American people.
Any illegal immigrant that I've ever come across, they do take construction site jobs because they can go through private contractors that can like pay them under the table, not file a W-2. So these people are not paying taxes.
And I think it's ridiculous.
But they're not receiving money back from the government. They're not receiving food stamps. They're not receiving which it's not actually food stamps anymore, but basically food stamps. They're not receiving any of that. They're just getting paid under the table by some guy. And, you know, the guy doesn't take the time to do like a background check to see if they're legal citizens or not, because he's just looking for people to do the job and get the job done. And these people will work for really cheap. And honestly, it's not a job that many people want to do.
But that's the thing is, those kind of jobs, I would do it if it's offering me more money compared to Sam's. If they're offering me more money compared to other companies, then that would work. So that's still taking jobs away from American people. Especially, there's a lot of homeless people. You look at Skid Row and the issue between homelessness over in California. It's insane. You know.
Well, illegal immigrants or not, the bottom line here in this country, and I had a debate with with somebody on Facebook earlier this week or last week or something, that the bottom line is so, okay, he was saying that we should increase the minimum wage because crony capitalism sucks, the economy tanked, and it's just difficult for everyone all the way around, I think. I mean, my father was supposed to have retired by now, and he doubled the amount of time he had to work for retiring during the economic crash in the early 2000s because his savings were worth now only half of what he actually saved up.
And that was thanks to Bill, and also thanks to the Bush administration as well. But the funny thing is with Trump, when he's in office, thanks to the Obama administration, I will give him credit for that, for helping out the economy. It took a long time, and then when Trump gets a hold of it, he's making the economy way more better. Not the fact that the rich is getting rich. The middle class and the poor are actually getting more money in their pockets compared to.
Well, and economists are talking about how there's a big inflation that's about to hit us, and they don't know how Trump is going to counteract that yet. They're actually kind of intrigued by it.
And hopefully he could do something about it, because this is something that's going to hit us. This inflation is going to hit us, and it's going to be scary. I don't like the fact that China is still we're still doing deals with China because of the concentration camps that they put people in. But even though that happens.
Okay, so this is the debate, the kind of debate that I had. So somebody said that they wanted to increase the minimum wage, and somebody else said no, and they said don't increase the minimum wage, stop being a baby, quit bitching, go to college, get an education, get a better job. And I was like, whoa, 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 both of you are wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's why. Increasing the minimum wage causes inflation. So people with trade skills that are making like $20 an hour that are living pretty decent, they're not going to be compensated for this wage increase. They never are. And I don't think people understand how much it really does affect the economy, because when the wage increased from $5.25 to $7.25, I was in management at the time, and I saw how it impacted the business and the clientele, as well as the crew people.
Hours. And this thing is, they forget when they hire taxes, when they hire the minimum wage, they hire the taxes as well. Not the fact they hire the taxes, the cost of living goes up. The cost of prices on everything goes up. So basically, you're having 2 steps forward and then 2 steps backwards.
I saw a cascade effect because everything was going up in price, and that was just from $5.25 to $7.25, just a $2 increase. So I also said, though, that college is not a magical cure. Most people who go through college spend the rest of their life in debt. You are not guaranteed a job.
That's true.
In fact, there are many people that work working class jobs, sales, retail, customer service, warehouse, that kind of thing, that have biotechnician degrees, engineering degrees, degrees in health like CNA, CMA, RNs. There's also a lot of people with psychology degrees working in basically working class fields like, warehouse, sales, retail, blah, 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 customer service.
Yeah.
So there is, there's not very many jobs of there's a lot of saturation of the job market, which also causes the payment for that particular occupation to go down. So they'll pay you less because the job market has been saturated. But The other thing that has happened here in this country is that we don't have a lot of major exports anymore. Everything is imported.
Exactly.
And we've also outsourced certain aspects like, call centers overseas because the businesses can pay them cheaper, like $1 an hour over in these other countries is, decent wage where they're at, and it's boosting their economy and lowering the cost over here. So I don't know if I have a problem with that or not. I think it's kind
I
of
do.
good.
Yeah,
It's good because it makes the service cheaper for us,
that's
and it's
true.
boosting their economy at the same time. But the thing is we had nothing to replace it.
No.
And so the bottom line is this. The bottom line is this. Immigration or not, it's irrelevant. The problem is there are more people than there are livable wage paying jobs. And if you want to fix that, you have to create industry.
Yeah, and creating industry is like you mentioned about pot, legalizing pot, also the green energy that we can implicate to it.
Legalize prostitution. That's another industry. And one thing that I hadn't thought of before until I started that debate on Facebook was the fact that the majority of our produce,
Mhm.
like predominantly fruits, and there's even some poultry like fish,
Mhm.
we're not getting it here from the United States. We're getting it from other countries. So we're paying an extra amount of money to have that imported
Yeah.
to us. And that's really messed up because farming is a way over. It's well over a livable wage income. It's definitely an income you could live very, very well off of. I've actually seen farmers houses like that grow crops. I mean, they've got huge satellite dishes on their house. They've got hot tubs and pool. I mean, these people have money.
Yeah.
And the thing is that there's the United States is got more undeveloped fertile land than almost any other country, and we're not utilizing it.
I think we should utilize it. I mean, yeah, there's a lot
So
of
why are we importing all these fruits and vegetables when we could be growing them here? And if we grew them here, there wouldn't be an import price, so they'd be cheaper.
yeah.
So that would be an industry growth right there if we started farming here in the United States for ourselves again. And most other countries do this as well. They farm for themselves. They don't get imports, or if it is imported, it's labeled as an imported good.
Hello.
Yeah, you went sideways.
Oh shit. No, I was trying to. Somebody's trying to call me again, and then this, and it's doing it again. Oh boy.
Is it the awesome Polish kid?
Uh, Sadly, I will tell you later. When somebody tries to call me or tries to text me, I'm like, I'm at work. I'm at work. I keep on telling them I'm at work constantly. You might not agree with the whole wall situation is, but the thing is, I'm more concerned about tire security. I'm more concerned of human beings and well-being. I mean, yes, legal immigration here in the United States, we're bringing 1 million people here legally. Other countries, they don't bring hardly any immigrants, very little.
Well, yeah, and a lot of that though has to do with the size of the country. I mean, one of our states is about the same square mileage as one of the countries over in Europe. Like Germany is the same size as I believe Montana.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is that we have more population here. And all these socialists, they say Europe is a socialist country because they have all these social programs. And like, no, they're not socialists. They're mixed economies. They're quite different, but also yes, they have a lot of social programs because they have less people. They can take care of their people better because there's less of them. It won't work here in the United States. I hate to tell you this, but it's the truth. If you want to see your idea of of a European socialist viewpoint that you want to see is, well, then go to fucking Portland, Oregon, or fucking go to California and look at Skid Row, and then come back and talk to me.
Well,
it doesn't work.
I'm in favor of a mixed economy, but the thing is crony capitalism kind of keeps stepping on the feet of it.
And then,
and what they don't realize is you can keep your privatized, like health insurance. You can keep your privatized health insurance. All I was expecting is that, you know, like I said, I use the example of Germany because I think their health system works really fucking well. And it's a choice. You can choose privatized health insurance even through your employer if they offer it. You could pay a tax during tax season. It's just one time per year that you would pay it. Or you could choose not to do either one of those and be uninsured. There's no penalty for that. And so if you pay the tax during tax season, then you get the national health care that they have. And from my understanding, it's really good. It works a lot like it does here in the United States. You know, you go into a place, well, we have to show our insurance card. They don't. They just have to be a fucking citizen and they happen to pay the tax. And then they sit in the waiting room and they wait to be seen. Now, if you want to be seen sooner, that's what the privatized health insurance is for. But I imagine it costs a lot of money. So as far as, you know, the health insurance companies were the big pushers that tried to shake the Republican Party and be like, oh, money, money, money. And that's what filibustered the bill in the first place, was because they were worried about these major conglomerate corporations not being able to collect as much money as they used to. Well, they could collect more because if you got the privatized health insurance, let's say through a company like Humana or Blue Cross Blue Shield, they could charge more, but they could push you to like you could go to a private practitioner where there is no waiting line. There is no waiting room.
So you give a choice to whatever. But the thing is, with Obamacare, it made it worse. With Obamacare, it would have made it a whole lot worse. Not the fact it made it worse, also the government mandate forcing people to have health insurance. But that also
was one of the worst aspects to it.
Yeah. But wasting $60 trillion into healthcare that doesn't hardly even work. And you look at Europe, they spend less money compared to us with healthcare. And they say the healthcare we have is not a capitalist healthcare, it is a socialist healthcare that basically doesn't work. And it's crazy.
Well, and you know, I had friends that were from the UK back when it passed. A Scottish couple that I knew, they were really mad about it because they were like, it's not a social program if it's not it isn't a social program if it's not a choice, was the wife's words exactly. She was so mad that it was being made mandated. She was pissed off about it. She goes, that is not what they do in Europe. That's not what they do.
And also, you heard about recently about the guy suing his parents, this Indian guy suing his parents for being born.
You talked to me a little bit about that, but that's really kind of bizarre.
Just look it up. It's funny as hell. It's funny. I think it's a troll. I really think it's a troll. This Indian guy who's a lawyer who's suing his parents that are lawyers for being born.
Let's see here.
It's funny. It's funny. I think it's troll.
Okay. Oh my God. He sounds like such a whiny little baby. Why should I suffer? Why must I be stuck in traffic? Oh, how fucking horrible to be stuck in traffic. Doesn't that just make you want to die? Why must I work? I don't want to have to work. That's poopy stuff. I don't want to do that.
It sounds like it sounds your stereotypical progressive, you know?
Why must I face wars? Oh my God, you poor thing. Why must I feel pain or depression? God damn it, he's fucking alive and he can feel pain. Why should I do anything when I don't want to? Many questions, one answer. Someone had you for their pleasure. Oh, what a crock of fucking shit. The point and purpose of a species is to survive and proliferate. Like, duh. Nobody asks to be fucking born, and nobody, like, nobody, who's stopping this guy from committing suicide? Like, I'm not gonna like advocate for suicide here, but I mean, like, if he really feels this way, like, couldn't he have just killed himself?
Well,
and he talks about all the negatives of life, but he doesn't talk about any of the positive things of life, you know, like feeling.
I can only say this. Am I crazy? I sleep with that all the time.
This guy says it's wrong to bring children into the world because they then have to put up with lifelong suffering. It just don't have stop. Everybody stop having children. Just stop.
You know, yeah.
Because life sucks. Just stop.
Well, there's some good in the world and some bad in the world, but you can't help people from fucking and, you know, pulling a mini me out of them. Can't help that.
Wow, what an epiphany. He says he understands that of consent can't be sought before we are born, but insists that it was not our decision to be born. What a fucking epiphany. Wow, how did we figure that out? Is he religious? I want to know if this person is religious. That would be extra funny if he was religious.
He's not. I don't know if he's religious or not, but he
because if he was religious, then you could ask the question. You could say, well, then why did you choose to be born? Why did your soul go into that body and that vessel? Why?
The funny thing about it is that there is a movement in India and also in the United States and then the Western societies. I forgot what it's called. It's called something.
No, this guy gets even more interesting. So as we didn't ask to be born, we should be paid for the rest of our lives to live.
Oh God.
So everyone else but people who feel like you shouldn't have to work. I'm pretty sure most people feel the same way. Right. We all suffer. We all get stuck in traffic. We all hate work. We all have to face war, and we all feel pain and depression. All of us do these things. Like, so who's going to be doing the money bit? Like yeah, exactly. Who's going to be running the perks of society that are the leisures, you know, like television and video games, online gaming, the internet. I mean, all of this stuff that just makes things go.
Well, there is a movement in India and I think in other countries that taught. I forgot what's it called, but they believe that you have to consent to be born, and if not, they think that's bad for some reason.
It says his parents take it with a lot of humor. They think it's funny. They're both lawyers as well.
Exactly. and they're getting sued, so they're taking it as a challenge, and I'm like, what the fuck? This has to be a troll. You see the picture of the guy. He has a fake beard and mustache.
Yeah, I see that.
God, that's must be the oddest thing I ever saw online. I was watching the Phil DeFranco show, and I was watching. It's like, what the fuck?
Oh, this guy is like he wants the destruction of the human race. He says This would gradually phase out humanity from the earth, and that would be and that would also be so much better for the planet. Unfortunately, he is right. The extinction of the human race probably would be good for the planet, but seriously, fuck you. Like, that's no, like,
That's fucked up.
most people have a drive not to want to die.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should die, but they call it something. They called it. They called it. It's not a religion, but they call it something that they think that human beings destroys the whole. Human beings in general destroy the whole universe, destroy Mother Nature, and yet they think all of humanity should be wiped off of the earth. I forgot what it was called. But yeah, it's insane. I think it's a troll.
Does this guy think he's deep? This isn't deep. This is stupid. This is like, this is unbelievably stupid. Like, seriously, dude, like, you're pissed off because people are making babies and you want them to stop. God damn it. Those kids don't have a choice to be born.
Well, I should take a picture of like some random kids and be like, "This is my children here," and put it in his face. Be like, "Yay!"
Wait, what will happen if he has a baby?
That'd be kind of awkward. But it wouldn't surprise me.
She wants to have it. Then what's he gonna? What if he falls in love with the child and wants to be like a really good father figure and shit? What if that happens?
I really don't know.
Then he'll change his mind. He's gonna grow. I think he's just young and stupid, and he thinks he's being really deep and philosophical. But it's like, no.
He kind of reminds me of the Virginia governor. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They have a lot in common, though. So, man,
I don't know. All this dismissal of rationality, logic, reason, and science is just it's mind blowing. It's like, what the fuck happened here?
well, when you have stupid people who figures out technology and they use it, there you go. Why do you think people talk about 50 fucking genders and get offended because and over something like that? I had somebody told me that I was talking about it. I think these people are mentally ill, and they think they think there's 50 fucking genders and they're non-binary. It's like, well, they're just trying to do it because they want money. And I'm like, that's probably true. They're just trying to sue somebody over something that clearly has nothing to do about reality.
Do you think that it's a fair statement to say that teenagers, particularly young boys between the ages of 15 to 18, are probably more than likely going to seek out a way to find porn, be it filmography or pornography?
I'll say pornography.
But I mean, you know, they're gonna. It could be on the internet. It could be not on the internet. But particularly young, like teenage boys, they're going to lie about being 18 on the stupid thing that pops up when you go, like fucking every fucking porn website is like XTube, RocketTube, all of them. Hamster. Are you 18? Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes they ask when you were born. Well, all you have to do is pick a date that would make you above 18.
Exactly.
But I think there's like this kind of notion in the back of society's minds. It's like, well, it's been going on for centuries, really, and we can't really stop it. We can discourage them from seeking it out, but we know that when our backs are turned, they're going to seek out nude imagery. So
I was trying to look for
did I just assume right there, or am I just stating a direct fact? I mean, I'm sure some females do it, but I think females are particularly held on to their sexuality until later on in life. But I think males are very, very quick to try and give it up. So is that not a gender role?
That is pretty much a gender role. I mean, I was watching a.
Is it not true that we tried to discourage boys from acting in such a way?
I think society does that a lot, and I think it's horrible. I think it's stupid. I think you gotta let kids.
Well,
You gotta let them do
it's
themselves.
designed to teach males to keep their sex drive under control.
Yeah,
But I mean, is it also not true to say that this is more common amongst boys than girls?
it's more common.
Do you
Women
know
on the left.
why? I can explain why. It's a fairly simple explanation.
Yeah.
Testosterone. It's a sex hormone, and males have it. A lot
Yeah.
of it.
Well, there's some women who have testosterone, but not as much as.
Everybody has testosterone and estrogen, but the very nature of being a male, you're going to have a higher level of testosterone than estrogen. If you have a higher level of estrogen than testosterone, then you will develop very, very funny. And well, it won't be funny. It'll actually be horrific, and it can cause a lot of health concerns. So, and same with women. You know, that they're if they have a higher level of testosterone than estrogen, they're going to have a lot of ovarian cysts. They're going to have problems. So everybody has testosterone and estrogen, but males are the prime carrier of testosterone, and our estrogen levels are very, very low. Vice versa with females. You know, their estrogen levels are very high, testosterone levels very low. But the level of testosterone that males carry as a sex hormone, and actually the act of making out, is deliberate. This is something that we instinctually do, because when a male is doing this, when he's making out with somebody he wants to mate with, the person is going to absorb that male's testosterone via saliva, um, skin moisture, like perspiration on the skin, the way that the male smells, that they're going to get that testosterone in their bodies, and it's going to make them horny.
Exactly. No, but that's the one thing is they keep on saying, and these feminists, they keep on saying that sex and gender roles, and then sexual orientation, it's societal. I'm like, no, it's not really. Look at the animal kingdom. I mean, that's the prime example of the animal kingdom.
Every species in the entire animal kingdom has a gender role.
Yeah, regardless. I mean, you look at lions. The male lions are more hunters compared to female lions.
Now, I don't think it's as rigidly defined as we try to make it in society. You know, like there's over the top shit like Spike TV being that's for dudes. I mean, that's just over the top. That is a social construct.
It appeals to guys and guys' interests. I mean, you look through a lot of their TV shows like Manswers, and then also A Thousand Ways to Die. Those are like trivia questions that are,
there are females that are interested in that too.
Yeah, as well. But most guys are going to be interested into how to fix cars, or how to make this, or how to do more mechanical stuff around the house.
Only generally.
Yeah, most guys would, but not every. I mean, I can't imagine guys who are like really buff be like, oh, I want to watch Lifetime with my girlfriend, and I'm like, totally. I'm like,
There's probably some that do, but no, that's probably not common.
Yeah, that's common. But I don't think this is only society. Guys and men are different mentally as well, and by emotions as well.
Well, but there's some things that are a social construct, but we're blurring the lines, and it's like people can't tell what is a social construct and what is biological anymore.
Well, I mean, makeup and clothes is more of a social construct than anything else.
Yeah, that is true. But the way that a female conducts herself, the whole dainty shit, that's a social construct. Like females have to be taught to be, like proper, that's like we're human beings, we're violent, we're vile, we're disgusting, we're barbaric. I mean, male and female alike, it doesn't matter. I mean, you look at a male house cat and a female house cat. I mean, how do you tell the difference? looking at their behavior, they almost seem identical. But if you study their behavior, you start noticing that the males do have very small, minute things that make them behaviorally different than the females. But they're very, very small, and it's something you have to hyper focus on and study, and then it starts to become more clear.
Yeah. But that's the one thing I simply just don't get from especially with the Jesse Smalls, the whole social justice warriors. They automatically make these stories up to get attention, if it is attention. And they said the police reported this, that they can't find any evidence supporting it. My question is, why people would lie about something like that? That's just completely stupid,
I don't know. I see social justice as those who mean to control the people that are the perpetrators of the word mansplaining, manspreading, toxic masculinity, these things. It's like you're demonizing men by taking words that we don't like and attaching a male prefix to it or something.
You kind of notice the same kind of their viewpoints on hating white men. You look at 1940s Klansmen, Jigglepoo, Wigger, nigger, racial slurs. Actually, the N word is actually originally not even. It wasn't referred to black people. It was referred to people who are being lazy.
I thought the word was a derivative of the word black because that's the word for black in Spanish. And I believe French as well.
French, yeah.
De negro.
And then also...
Actually, the original pronunciation was more accurate. Negro.
Yeah.
It means black in another language.
Yeah, but you get my point. It was...
But basically, you ended up with a bunch of honky, white, trash, redneck motherfuckers that didn't know proper English, and they couldn't say the word Negro. Yeah. They called them niggers.
Yeah, basically. And then, some racial slurs like go back to Africa and stuff like that. And you got these black Israelites who were yelling at people on the side of the road or yelling at the MAGA kids, go back to Europe. It's the same kind of attitude, but flipped the other way around.
Well, I'm not a big fan of this peopling thing. Like that's deeply troublesome to me. It's like, seems like nobody gave two shits and a fuck about race until like just a few years ago. And then all of a sudden, like everybody's like absolutely fixated on their genetic lineage as far as racial identity goes. And it's like, why?
Well, I can tell you why is because of the media's protection of blacks, whites, society, and it's been that way for the longest time. But the thing is, it wasn't very much people who were doing that. It wasn't very much people who were acting that way. You think about social justice warriors who were around ever since the early 90s, but they weren't as big. There was no such thing.
Well, I view them as the type of people that are trying to ban tobacco products and simultaneously legalize marijuana. So, I mean, I agree with them on that. I agree marijuana should be legal, but I do not agree that we should make tobacco illegal. It's like we're making the same mistakes over and over and over again with this prohibition bullshit.
Shit. Damn it.
What happened?
That was an accident. Dropped my gun. I dropped it. I don't know. Not me. Sorry. Well, thank God nobody was hurt. Shit. Damn it. Can we talk? Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Sorry. Nothing.
It adds entertainment.
Well, my lights are gone. What? Well,
your lights went out.
Yep. What? Yep. Sorry. I won't. Shit. Can I call you back later?
Well, you know, we're in live casting, so do you want to stop the stream? Oh, he left. Well, anyway, if you've made it this far, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell button on any channel you're subscribed to. And with that, out.